I started collecting ads and talking about the image of women in advertising in the late 1960s. As far as I know, I was the first person to do this. I tore ads out of magazines, put them on my refrigerator, and gradually I began to see a pattern in the ads. In 1979, I made my first film, Killing Us Softly, advertising's image of women, which I've remade 3 times since then. These were some of the ads in my original collection, a long time ago. If your hair isn't beautiful, the rest hardly matters. And I'd probably never be married now if I hadn't lost 49 pounds, which one woman told me was the best advertisement for fat she'd ever seen. Since that time, advertising has become much more widespread, powerful, and sophisticated than ever before. Babies at the age of 6 months can recognize corporate logos, and that's the age at which marketers are now starting to target our children. At the same time, just about everyone feels personally exempt from the influence of advertising. So wherever I go, what I hear more than anything else is, well, I don't pay attention to ads, I just tune them out. They have no effect on me. I hear this most often from people wearing Abercrombie t-shirts, but that's another story. The influence of advertising is quick, cumulative, and for the most part, subconscious. Ads sell more than products. The pressure on women to be young, thin, beautiful is more intense than ever before. It's always been impossible. Years ago, the supermodel Cindy Crawford said, "I wish I looked like Cindy Crawford." She couldn't, of course. No one can look like this, but it's really impossible today because of the magic of Photoshop, which can turn this woman into this woman and then try to make us believe that an anti-aging cream can do this. Now, she's a beautiful woman, but older women are considered attractive in our culture only insofar as we stay looking impossibly young. Men are photoshopped too, but when men are photoshopped, they're made bigger. Andy Roddick laughed when he saw the bulked up arms on this cover photo and suggested they should be returned to the man they belong to. The obsession with thinness is worse than ever because of Photoshop. Her head is bigger than her pelvis. This is an anatomical impossibility. The actual model for this ad was fired for being too fat, and they used Photoshop to create this freakish image. So the image is impossible for everyone, but particularly for women of color, who are considered beautiful only insofar as they resemble the white ideal. Light skin, straight hair, Caucasian features, round eyes. Even Beyoncé's skin is lightened in ads. The image isn't real. It's artificial, it's constructed, it's impossible. But real women and girls measure ourselves against it every single day. Of course it affects female self-esteem, and it affects how men feel about the very real women in their lives. This amazing ad that ran quite a few years ago in a lot of women and teen magazines. This is the whole ad, and I'll read you the copy. Your breasts may be too big, too saggy, too pert, too flat, too full, too far apart, too close together, too A-cup, too lopsided, too jiggly, too pale, too padded, too pointy, too pendulous, or just too mosquito bites. But with Depth styling products, at least you can have your hair the way you want it. It is ludicrous, but this ran in teen magazines. Teen magazines target 12-year-old girls. Here they're saying to 12-year-olds, your breasts will never be okay. So our girls are getting the message today so young that they have to be incredibly thin and beautiful and hot and sexy, and that they're going to fail because there's no way to measure up to this impossible ideal. The self-esteem of girls in America often plummets when they reach adolescence, and they often hit a wall. And certainly part of this wall is this terrible emphasis on physical perfection. Men are objectified more than they used to be, but there really aren't consequences as a result of that. Men don't live in a world in which they're likely to be raped, harassed, or beaten. At least straight white men don't live in such a world, whereas women and girls do. When women are objectified, there's always the threat of sexual violence. There's always intimidation. There's always the possibility of danger. And women live in a world defined by that threat. The body language of women and girls remains passive, vulnerable, submissive, and very different from the body language of men and boys. So boys are sexualized too, although in a very different way than girls. Boys are encouraged to look at girls as sex objects. Boys are encouraged to be sexually precocious, and boys are learned to be tough and invulnerable, basically starting in infancy. Basically, we allow our children to be sexualized, but we refuse to educate them about sex. But our kids are getting sex education. They're getting massive doses of it, but they're getting it from advertising, the media, the popular culture. This is an ad for jeans, although something seems to be missing. Girls are encouraged to present themselves as strippers and porn stars, to remove their pubic hair, and to be sexually available while expecting little or nothing in return. And at the same time, they're insulted. Tastes great, goes down easy. As they learn that their sexual behavior will be rewarded, they learn to sexualize themselves, to see themselves as objects. These images cause real harm to real girls and women. Girls exposed to sexualized images from a young age are more prone to eating disorders, depression, and low self-esteem. Inevitably, the objectification leads to violence, and that's become much more extreme too. Advertising often normalizes and trivializes battering, sexual assault, and even murder. These ads don't directly cause violence against women, but they normalize dangerous attitudes, and they create a climate in which women are often seen as things, as objects. And certainly turning a human being into a thing is almost always the first step toward justifying violence against that person. And that step is constantly taken with women and girls. So the violence, the abuse, is partly the chilling but logical result of this kind of abuse. We are all affected by these images. We all have a profound stake in challenging them. We must create a better world for ourselves and our children. After all these years, I still have hope that we will. Thank you so much.